The Adventures of Steve and Dixie by Stephen Breakstone, 2026. Snippets from my journal. Episode 39, month 14, July 1987. July 16th, 1987, Thursday, the 96 Ranch. On my first day, I started at about 7 a.m. When I first came out of my trailer, the girls were already out on the two horses that had been in the corral. Their job was to ride those horses to find the other horses that were anywhere on the 290 some odd acres of mountainous forest that was Hayward property, and to bring them to the corral. Only after they found and corralled all the horses were the girls allowed to eat breakfast, along with the rest of us. It wasn't long before we had a delicious pancake and bacon breakfast made from Lee's ancient sourdough recipe and griddled on his wood stove. The griddle was the lid from a 40-year-old former washing machine. Cleaned up, it was perfect for its new career. The inside of Lee's cabin is a small kitchen with a giant wood stove, a small table, and a two-sink counter. Hiding behind the door was a microwave. A curtain hid a fairly large bedroom, a big queen-size bed protected by a bearskin and head shot by Lee just over that ridge about 10 years ago. The rest of the dark brown room had a desk, a dresser with drawers, and pictures of horses and Lee's deceased father, Claude Hayward. Over the curtain hung a couple of shotguns. Beyond the bedroom was a bathroom that housed a toilet, a shower, and a washing machine. The cabin was originally built in 1917, but extensions and progress came up the mountain. Electricity lines were put up in the 1950s, a telephone line in the late 60s, and the bathroom and running water in the 70s. The water was from the stream that ran in front of the cabin. Because of the horses, a pipe was run from above where the horses walked and led to a small pump that provided pure drinking water and decent showers. He had a water heater on the porch. The somewhat out-of-the-place microwave was bought for the same reason everyone else buys them. I want things without having the fuss of cooking and without having to build a fire in the stove, Lee told me. However, Lee put it out of the way because he knows that the guests like to think he was in the 1880s instead of the 1980s. It took anyone just a minute to realize that Lee Hayward had all the best of all worlds up here. Old-time simplicity, romantic quaintness, and modern convenience. One without contaminating the other. He had a radio, an old one, but, of course, no television. After a hot breakfast, we saddled up some horses. Or should I say the girls did. I remembered absolutely nothing about saddling up a horse correctly. Sneakily, I got the girls to show me how good they were, trying not to let on that I needed them to do it so I could learn. I have a lot to learn. Side note. Yeah, I was green, but I wasn't that green. But still, I was trying to hide any shade of my greenhornness on this ranch in the Colorado mountains with an old macho cowboy and his people. Yeah, some pride and ego on my part, but I did retain and relearn most of my horse skills quickly, and no one was the wiser. Until now. With the horses ready to go, Lee, his friends, the girls, and I headed to the top of the mountain. Snapper, Lee's dog, was with us, but I left Dixie home to rest. I couldn't wait to have her out in the midst of the quaking aspen forest, just not on this day. I think she just needed a little extra rest. The ranch is at 8,000 feet, and we went up to 10,000 to see some reservoirs built in the 1890s that helped irrigate and build the town of Grand Valley, which was the name of Parachute before it was renamed. We could see into Utah, about 100 to 200 miles as the crow flies. It felt really good to be where I was and with whom I was with. Lee is funny, humorous, and interesting. And I can tell that I know nothing about him because I can tell that there is a lot to know. I have a feeling that this is the kind of man I've been waiting all trip to meet. We put in over 1,500 miles of strides to meet the man, and now it was only a matter of time before I found out about him. Lee told us stories of the area we were in and how the peaks and valleys were named. Lee was dressed for the day in jeans, boots, chaps, cowboy hat, and a holstered gun. I didn't understand the need for a gun, but he offered the thought, When my guests are out on the trail with me, I have a responsibility to protect them. This is protection. Lee is a member of the National Rifle Association. Sympathy comes between sweat and shit in the dictionary around here. Lee made either the girls or me get off our horses whenever there was any litter, especially beer cans. The trail we were taking was also part of the National Forest, and anyone could use them, including people who had no respect for God's garden. Lee has respect. I appreciate that. Before we were at the summit, Lee explained the views that we were seeing. Those are the Book Cliffs. Just follow them west and there's Utah. As the day went on, I could see that the cliffs, with the constantly changing angle of the sun and the different lighting affected from the clouds, put on a continuing and evolving show of beauty. And every turn up the mountain showed us something. Not only views, but lava rock and elk and bear tracks and old rusty tools used by men to dig the reservoirs with hand and mules almost a century ago. I am really in for an education. On the road, I'm by myself and a leader. Okay, a leader of two, and one's a German Shepherd who's looking to be led, but still, I am in charge of every decision. I've been out here to learn and have been on my own. But if we should stay here, I am to take a back seat. Lee is the leader and the teacher. I have a lot to learn, and he has a lot to teach. And Lee loves to teach, I can tell already. He is much more than just a devil of a man. By late afternoon, we came down and let the horses run free after their hard work. The other 20 corralled horses were also let out to roam. The girls kept 2 horses behind to wrangle up the freed horses in the morning. After 24 hours, I didn't know too much of what would be expected of me or what to expect. In fact, I still don't even know what my job will be. But this isn't even a dude ranch. Lee just happens to have some friends over. Basically, he's a guide in the hunting season, but that's not until October. Other than that, he gives horseback rides if and when people come up for the day. I'm not exactly sure what he needs me for. July 20th, 1987, Monday. Lee Hayward is 69 years old, just a bit hunched and not quite the physically powerful man he used to be. I noticed that because obviously this man was has had quite a physical life. And I don't know any 69-year-old people who so comfortably climbed on and controlled an almost half-ton gelding. Lee grew up here in Northwest Colorado when it was very undeveloped. He has done some boxing, spent 20 years in the Navy, and in the Second World War even had rank on JFK. For 15 years, he had been a postman and sold real estate and insurance. He used to have quite a few dollars, he says, but his ex-wives have them now. With all his experience, he seemed to talk to people as a buddy or as a wise old man, depending on the situation. And for a man pushing 70, he talks as if his libido is as powerful as this 24-year-old in his prime. I haven't met her yet, but I understand that his girlfriend is a divorced woman in her 40s. It's been 2 or 3 days now, and I have learned that Lee's favorite saying is, "Goddamn son of a bitch," a phrase that has a multitude of uses and can be placed in a variety of situations, be it towards a person, animal, place, or just as an exclamation. Lee Hayward, in his other days, was also a smoker, a drinker, and a barroom brawler. He's had lots of fun and still does, but in different ways. Again, he's been telling me a lot of stories. Hamburger Snapper son of a bitch is his dingo blue heeler. All of my animals have the same last name. A crazed, fun-loving work dog that I would guess has some mental problems. Maybe he was kicked one too many times. But he's a great dog and he knows his job. Lee says, "Go get him!" And Snapper knows just which ones Lee means, and off he goes, flying like the wind, barking all the way, around the back of the horses, snapping at their heels. Snapper then guides them to where Lee wants them. I've already noticed that Sniper likes to play chicken with the horses when they're even just hanging around. He likes to snap at their heels just for the excitement of jumping back a split second before the kick of that horse's heel. Snapper also enjoys playing the game with the tires on Lee's pickup, especially if it's moving. And if he's in the bed of the truck while Lee is driving down the road to town, He enjoys grabbing the limbs of trees as we drive past them. Sometimes he lets go, and sometimes he breaks the branch off, and sometimes we look back and there's Snapper hanging from a tree with his mouth. Yeah, I'm just kidding about that last one, but I can imagine it could have happened. Snapper's a good, fun dog, but personally, I think he's deranged. I mean, in a sweet way. You just gotta love him. It's been a few days now. Already, I feel like I've been here a while. Lee's friends, and Dawn and Randy, the young girls, are gone, and Lee and I are becoming friends. The wrangling or jingling, which has to do with the listening for the bells of the 5 or so horses that wore bells so we wranglers could find the herd easier, became my job. It's now up to me to gather the horses every morning, by myself. We let the horses go at night to feed in the forest and pastures, and now I, get them in the morning and they stay in the corral all day, unless needed. If they're out all the time, they'd eat all day and night, and we'd have horses with weight problems, Lee told me. I've only wrangled them twice so far, and once Snapper came with me to help. The other time, he didn't follow me. Once the horses weren't too far off from the cabins, but the other time, it took me over an hour just to find them. But I did and got them to run on home. I'm told they usually come on home if I get behind them and yell, "Go get them!" But sometimes, Lee told me, those goddamn sons of bitches like to play games with you. Okay. All I know is I get to go horseback riding on my own every day in the mountains of Colorado. Later. Dixie and Snapper have become buddies. Both quite appreciate having the friendship of similar species. At first, I allowed Dixie to follow Snapper to round up the horses with me. She made me so proud. "Go get 'em" was all Dixie had to hear, and she understood what needed to be done. She wasn't as fast as Snapper, but the horses got the message. After all, she is a shepherd. Sheep, horses, not much difference to her, I guess. That was my first thought. But I've been looking at Snapper, the fun-loving ranch work dog, and considered a few things. Beyond my respect and admiration for him, I see other qualities. I see a dog only about a year older than my own, but with missing teeth, and some of his still present teeth are cracked and or chipped. His left back leg sometimes shakes uncontrollably, flipping and a-flopping in all directions. It doesn't seem to bother nor hinder him, but nevertheless, Snapper is, in fact, worse for wear. It comes with the job. That's what happens in the dangerous career that was chosen for him, and he chose to accept. Snapper has no complaints, though. He lives for interacting with the horses and the mules. But I know that learning process takes place through experience, accidents, and mistakes. Growing up, mistakes and pains were often soothed by now you know for next time. I took a good long look at Snapper, and I imagined how Dixie's cuteness would be affected if she had cracked and missing teeth and a back leg that had a mind of its own. I don't like what I imagine. I decided that Dixie's horse wrangling days are over. Sorry, girl. Obviously, you can do the job, but your priority is walking another 1,500 miles and public relations. Now Dixie's going to stay home when we go to corral the horses, which she isn't too happy about, but she seems to understand. She's a good girl. She'll still get all the exercise around here she wants. Well, probably just by playing with Snapper, or also just catching up on her napping. Life is good. It's only been 5 days, and I don't know how long we'll be here. All I know is that we'll be here until whenever. And all I know is that although this is not quite a dude ranch like I had pictured, once again, the kid came through. July 21st, 1987, Tuesday. One great entertainment experience up here is watching the mountains and the mesa. The town of Parachute is in the Grand Valley of the Colorado River. The 96 Ranch is south of town, up the Battlement Mesa Mountains. Mountains filled with evergreens, scrub oak, and quaking aspen. Aptly named because it only takes the slightest breeze to make its leaves shake and quiver. The cabin is in an open pasture big enough for what I have previously described, and a couple of small horse pastures, one now being used to care for 3 yearlings. The openness of the pasture allows us to ever so slightly look down upon the valley. But better than that is the view we get of the Book Cliffs on the other side of the river. From sun up to sundown, it is ever beautiful and ever changing. So much more satisfying than a night in front of the television. I could look at it forever. It reminds me of all those nights in Dodge City, watching TV and retrospecting of what it was like to just watch the night sky. I remember really missing that aspect of the world in my life when I was living in Dodge, and yet I was soothed by the thought that sooner or later I would get back to it. Well, not only have I had it the last few weeks, I got it now and I got it good. And now I'm getting it nonstop. I also know that I'll lose it again, and then I will get it back again because it has become very important to me and my quality of life. Side note, it pleases me no end to add here that I was correct in that belief, or dream as it were. I've had incredible, inspiring views in many different homes and places in my life. And like so many things, I'm grateful for all the opportunities I've had to do so, as seeing and regularly being within beautiful and peaceful and serene views are one of the most gratifying aspects of my life. It is glory up here, and Lee knows it all too well. So do I. I mean, I greatly appreciate, with only a week, that I'm not, well, as most guests, only a visitor for the day. This is where we live for now. I have no need to feel that I have to get it all in one day. I mean, if I miss nature's spectacle one day, that's okay. I'll see it tomorrow. This is a good feeling, right here. Dixie, too, is in her own little heaven. Every morning and evening, in the cooler parts of the day, barking and jumping and rolling are Snapper and Dixie, playing together the best of pals. That brings me such joy. Also, Dixie just loves living and being in the woods. The epitome of the words joy and pleasure and exhilaration is Dixie romping in the woods. She is pure, unadulterated fun. The words that she doesn't know out there are exhaustion, boredom, or rest. In the last few days, I've taken her on some real great walks in the woods, sometimes with me on a horse. And when it's too hot to wrestle with Snapper, well then, the horses are hanging out in the corral. Dixie learned from day one not to go into the corral. Her boundary is the fence. And there I find she often lies, on her side of the fence, staring, speaking perhaps telepathically, to any or all of the horses and the three mules. Her favorite is Uno Mule. Uno is one obstinate beauty of a mule, but a very likable creature. I've seen them be nose to nose getting to know each other with only the wooden fence separating their feet for so many hours that they actually fall asleep that way. July 22nd, 1987, Wednesday. Strangely enough, there are times when I actually also miss walking, especially since at the time we stopped, we were enjoying it so. But I would be a goddamn foolish son of a bitch to leave here now. I will have to be here for a while. Later. Some people think horses are dumb animals. I don't think any animals are dumb. I just think that our human arrogance measures other animals' intelligence by our standards, and if they don't measure up to our test, then we consider them dumb. I think these horses are pretty smart, especially the leaders. For instance, I always know when 6:30 rolls around in the evening because Lee's favorite, Tucho, sticks his head over the fence and with a whinny says, "Steve, it's 6:30. Time to let us out." They know what's going on and they understand their rights and their rituals. But sometimes, I have found, they sure can act dumb. Either that or they just enjoy making this greenhorn look like a fool. My morning chore is to wrangle the horses. Sometimes that can take 20 minutes and sometimes 2 hours to find them all and get them back. Sometimes they seem to go to the secret horses playground, and there are a couple of mornings that I just couldn't even find them for the life of me. I had a hope that they'll come home on their own. I mean, they usually do, I'm told, but I also know that I don't get breakfast until they're corralled. Anyway, I didn't have too hard of a time finding the herd today, but unfortunately, they weren't in the mood to come home. It took me about 15 minutes just to hear the bells and locate them all, but it took me about 2 hours to get them corralled. Oh, as usual, I rode my horse behind the herd to get them running in the right direction. I've never cursed animals before like I did today. I mean, they went in every conceivable direction except the one direction I wanted them to go. And they knew damn well which trails to take. They've all done it millions of times before. I don't know. Maybe they got bored with the trail. We were just like going around in circles. I mean, I could swear I heard the herd laughing at me. Up until now, I thought we were getting along just swell. Maybe I can't take a joke. But I do know that my pulse, blood pressure, and tolerance were all blown to pieces, which is very unlike me. No, horses aren't stupid. They just have a very warped sense of humor. July 27th, 1987, Monday. We've been here for about 2 weeks now. It actually feels a lot longer. It didn't take more than just a few days before I felt right at home. I have the capacity to feel that way just after a few days anywhere. That's a quality born of being a traveler. It's also a comment on Lee Hayward's personality. And for that matter, Judy's too. That's his girlfriend. Judy is a sweet, intelligent, wonderful woman. She spent most of her life in Wisconsin and has been out here for a few years and is a team player at the Heart Association. She is passionate about her work. She is both motherly and friendly to me at the same time, and I love it. In the only 2 weeks I've been here, there's a feeling that we're a family on this mountain. The mountains, the creatures, the trees, the horses, the dogs, the cabins, and us. We all belong. But as sweet as Lee can be, is also as grumpy he can be, I have found. I hate it when he gets that way, especially if it gets directed towards me, or even when he directs it towards Judy. That's his woman. I mean, one day he growls, and the next day he spontaneously grabs her, puts her in a twirl that Fred Astaire would be proud of, and finishes it off with a big wet one. He could be such a charmer. Lee is so human. Really, that's what it is. Just a more colorful personality than most of us. Lee is also a storyteller, up with the best of them. Johnny Carson, are you listening? What a waste of entertainment and Americana should his stories be lost. My big problem now is how I'm going to remember all his stories from my book. I mean, he just indiscriminately throws out the most amazing stories at me at any moment while we're fixing a fence, cooking up some food, chopping wood, taking a drive. Perhaps I should have my recorder with me at all times. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this. I mean, I know I don't have this good of a memory. Later. I'm starting to think I'll only be here through August into September. I'd like to be here for hunting season, but I don't know if I could last that long. I think I'd get bored. I mean, I love it here, but already I can tell that soon the excitement will fade. It's a dilemma. In October, I have the opportunity to learn how to hunt and dress and clean game. I have no desire to kill, but to learn survival techniques is right up my alley. I'll have to weigh the pros and cons. It's a long time between now and then. I don't know if I can or want to stay here just to do that. My life's not that simple. I mean, I have to look at all the aspects. Right now, there's a lack of new things happening on the ranch. It's actually a somewhat redundant lifestyle. After I know it all and see it all, it could be over for me. Well, that hasn't happened yet here on the ranch, but of course, it will happen. I could see it happening. I'm not predetermining, but just being realistic. One has to develop certain balances and judgments, and I think especially foresight to keep things happy and fresh. That's another ingredient of success. Well, anyway, should I leave at that time? We'll have about 30 to 60 days to get to Idaho somewhere for the winter. I have to look ahead. July 31st, 1987, Friday. Once again, the mare Matt Dillon gave me trouble the other day. She was the horse I chose to keep in for the night to wrangle the horses in the morning. But the damn horse brought me to tears. I mean, tears of frustration. She's not cooperating. I can't find the horses, and there I am for hours by my lonesome looking for big, fat, stupid horses, all before breakfast. When she's with the other horses, she's great. All the horses are. When they're with the herd, that is. But like so many, she is herd-bound, explained Lee. She's uncomfortable, unwilling, and obnoxious without her companions. She acted fine while I saddled her up and chose a trail to begin my search. But spontaneously, as I was writing, she decided on her own course of action. I mean, she fought me all the way. At first, I let her go where she wanted. I thought maybe she knew something I didn't, like where the herd was. Then I realized she kept going back to the corral. Now, that wouldn't do. We had a job to do. So I turned her around, heading for where the herd might be, yelled and cursed a bit, and got her on the trail again. But she had different ideas, and one of them included her attempts to buck me off. Well, sorry, Mac Dillon, I'm no pansy. This has been happening for the past couple of days, actually. I mean, I recalled everything I knew about horses and eventually got the job done, but not without much more effort than it should have taken. I told Lee about this, and he said to keep at it. Otherwise, she ain't going to be good for nothing except dog food. So, she's the one we hold behind for a few days. She's too pretty for dog food, but sometimes I'm not sure what she's thinking. I explained all this to her, but she is hard-headed, that's for sure. Maybe I'm lonely. Maybe because I'm hungry for breakfast, I get frustrated. I would think that I would laugh at such ridiculousness horse behavior, not curse and cry. What's wrong with me? Or better yet, what's happening to me? Am I stir crazy? Am I lonely? Lee and Judy are great, but they're not my age. I'm in nature's paradise, perhaps, but perhaps wrangling and fence mending and wood chopping and building the extension on the cabin is not just enough. Just a few weeks ago, every day was new. Now every day is the same. I feel lonely. The worst thing about it is I so badly want to love it all. And now I have a stubborn mare making me grumpy. What this all adds up to is an incident Matt Dillon and I had this morning. Today was, once again, Matt Dillon's turn to help me find and wrangle the horses. And once again, she was fine for a while, but after a few hundred yards down the lower road, she went obstinate on me. Out of the blue, she spins herself and tries to run back up towards the corral. I didn't let her, and then she bucks, and I stayed on. And she reared up on her hind legs, and I stayed on. Oh, I cursed, and in great frustration, I slapped her neck with the reins. And then she reared up so far, instinct told me to let go of my grip and allow myself to fall off. I don't know why I let go, but I did, and I landed on my back. My head missed a head-breaking rock by just inches. But thank God I did what I did. For her, in her obnoxiousness, Matt Dillon had reared up so high that she also lost balance and came all the way up and over. She too landed on her back. And between her back and the ground was the saddle. Should I have not let go and fallen in the direction I did, it would have been me between the saddle and the ground. Not a pretty picture. And this only a couple of days after Malcolm Baldridge, an expert, experienced horseman in President Reagan's cabinet, was crushed and killed in a similar accident. I was very lucky. A subconscious, split-second decision saved me from a similar fate. We both got right back up to our feet, although a bit shaken. Without thinking too much, the only thing on my mind was that I still had horses to corral. Unwittingly, when I fell off the horse, I got right back on. I just did it. Later, I realized that I, as cliched as it might sound, got back on the horse after I fell off. Matt Dillon was a bit more cooperative after that incident, and we got the job done soon after with only minor disagreements. Perhaps that was a real initiation. If so, I think I passed. I asked Lee about the ongoing issue and asked for advice. He knew I was having problems, but didn't quite realize to what extent. Lee believes the only way to learn is to get on the horse and do it, to take charge. Well, I'm not sure I agree. Horses are not like dogs. They do not respond to yelling and to guilt. Well, but then Lee gave me a piece of a broom handle and told me to give her a whack between the ears when she acts up again. I didn't argue. Something had to be done. The spot on her head where he told me to hit her is quite hard, he explained, and not easy to hurt. I didn't love the idea, but it was better than the alternative. Well, damage for me, to my pride, and for her becoming dog food. It feels very strange to beat an animal, but I have to do it and do it right. Should I be thrown again, I may not be so lucky next time. The thought of what happened when both the mare and I fell backward and landed on our backs is still running around in my head. I've had a chance to replay it in my mind, and it was quite a frightening experience. Lee made me feel better with stories of his similar experiences, though, like when a horse he was on was spooked while he was on a razorback cliff. And once, standing in front of a horse, it reared up and landed its front hoofs on Lee's chest, narrowly avoiding great injury. He just laughed it off at the time, and he responded to his amazed partners when they were relieved that he wasn't killed. He said, I just do that to entertain you sons of bitches, he told me, he said. What a guy. I don't doubt his truth for a minute. Side note. Again, as previously mentioned, of course, I wish I had more pictures and higher quality pictures of this incredible experience with very special people. But for the most part, after the first very exciting days of, once again, living out a dream, I was just living on the ranch, doing my job, basically whatever Lee needed me to do, or just hanging out on a ranch in the Colorado mountains. Fortunately, I realized I needed and wanted pictures to document my experience, but most of the time, I didn't think about taking pictures. I was just living the life of a ranch hand, which was a small side life within my bigger life of walking across America. And also, unfortunately, some of the good pictures I took faded or was misplaced. And also, the pictures I did take, of course, I didn't know how any picture was going to come out, clear or fuzzy or with a head cut off, and, until months later when I was somewhere where I can get them developed. I was always well aware at the time of the gift Dixie and I had been given to be up on the mountain with Lee and Judy and Snapper and the herd and God, if you will. But as you can tell from my journal, it wasn't heaven. It was just a heavenly place with, like all places and experiences, pros and cons, pleasures and discomfort, certainty and uncertainty, certainly for me. But there's more to come of my treasured experience with Lee Hayward on the 9 Lazy Six Ranch, and that'll be on the next video. So that's it for now. Thanks for listening to my sharing. Peace.